Mike Tyson with us here on the Salman Brothers Diamond Lines. One of Custom Motto, of course, your mentor and trainer while growing up. One of his most famous quotes is when he talks about fear and how you can channel that fear in life and in boxing, and I imagine in acting as well as stage fright, as Mike just alluded to make you the best possible person that you are. How much of this stuff that you heard from Custom Motto, his quotes, do you still implement in your life today?
Oh, most of them. You have to control your composure, your discipline, doing things that you hate to do, but do them like you love them. Mm-hmm. This is just a show on stage, but I still got to stay in shape as I'm training for a fight.
Willie Moe, he'll be back in black next year. Sports Radio 790, The Zone. Western, Tony Barnhart, Heiserer here at the Red Zone, 34 minutes past 12 o'clock. Let's not make the man wait.
No.
Jump out to our Salman Brothers Diamond Line. It is his time of the year.
Tony, he's a lawyer, of course.
Well, he's
author.
a lawyer. He's got so much stuff going on.
He's got a name, too. His name's Jay Billis, and he joins us on the Salman Brothers Diamond Line. Jay, how you doing?
I'm doing great, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for your time today. I imagine you're being pulled in quite a few directions this time of year.
Yeah, there's a lot more than just basketball to be talking about right now. It's amazing how this game is kind of getting away from the administrators. We've got a professional game and amateur leadership.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up, Jay. This is Tony. I told somebody yesterday, college athletics is a really cool thing until the adults.
Jay Billis with ESPN with us here on the Salman Brothers Diamond Line. Let's talk about the games themselves. You got a Cinderella story in Wichita State running into a buzzsaw of a team in Louisville right now. And then Syracuse, Michigan. You can make an argument that the winner of whoever comes out of that game could give Louisville, if they were to advance, some serious trouble. How do you see this Final Four shaking down?
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. Wichita State is a good team. They rebound really well. They defend well. They're physically and I think mentally tough. They've got good players.
Bigger names in golf, they get out there early this morning. They play their practice rounds. They tee off literally right when the sun breaks. And they're usually back in the clubhouse. They have breakfast and, bang their balls. Tiger, some of the bigger names, they don't play in the par 3. But they go and work on the golf range and get ready for tomorrow. We'll talk about some of the pairings as we are literally set for the next 4 days of complete golf euphoria. And who better talk to than our friend Bob Bubka, host of the Grill Room from the Golf Show on Sirius XM Radio. Maybe you heard of him. Bob, how you doing? Great to hear from you again.
Hey, Hans and Mike, a pleasure to be on with you guys.
So let's talk shop here today. I imagine this morning most of the big wigs, including Tiger Woods, had a chance to go out and get their last practice rounds in. Was that the case early on this morning?
Yeah, but basically they do the hard work on Tuesday, Hans, and by Wednesday morning some of them will go out and play 9 holes, some won't, some will play the back 9, some will play the front 9, some will play, as I heard you in Q, talking about the par 3, not everybody plays in that. Everybody tries to come up with their own formula for success, and there's many ways to get to that green jacket on Sunday, but you only get one chance a year, so that you have to be very comfortable in your preparation. And I will say this much, Tiger is as prepared to win his 5th green jacket as any player I have ever seen.
Bob, any notable changes or things to look out for on the golf course this year itself?
No, not really. It's very lush. The grass is probably greener than I've ever seen it. They do something unique here in that they mow the fairways not from the tee to the green, which is what 99.9% of the golf courses you play do. Here they mow it from the green back to the tee. So when your ball lands in the fairway, it doesn't roll nearly as far as it would if it was mowed the other way. And when it's as lush as it is right now, it's going to make it an even longer golf course.
Bob Bubka with us. Bob, let's back it up to the World Golf Championship a few weeks back that Tiger wins. And I remember some of the guys that were kind of close there towards the end on Saturday. They wanted to be paired with Tiger in that final. I think any competitor in the sport wants to be in that final twosome with Tiger on that Sunday. Well, it turned out to be former tournament champion, major champion Graham McDowell, and he ended up falling back to earth. We've seen it a couple tournaments now this year where these guys in the final round with Tiger have just disappeared off the face. Is the Tiger effect back?
Well, certainly to some degree. I mean, before everything imploded for Tiger, that was the case. And then when he wasn't playing quite as well, a lot of people said the mystique is gone from Tiger, and the intimidating factor is not there. But I'll tell you this much, the way he's playing and the way he's been putting lately, certainly he's going to intimidate anybody that he's going to be paired with. Now, having said that, Rory McIlroy, Phil Mickelson, even a Graham McDowell, Lee Westwood, they would all relish the chance to be in the final twosome with Tiger come Sunday, because then they know they have a chance at winning a green jacket.
Bob Upka with us here. You know, Bob, you just mentioned Rory McIlroy in that disastrous back nine and how he used that and as motivation, and it could have gone either way for the young man. The other guy to me who hasn't won one of these things yet, that really let one get off the hook last year, if I was going to pick 2 or 3 guys that could come up and win this thing, Adam Scott, after what happened to him at the British Open last year, have you had a chance to talk to him? Where's his head at going into this next major?
He's pretty good. I mean, Adam, I've known Adam a long, long time. He's very solid. Don't forget he has Steve Williams on the bag, who certainly knows how to caddy for a winner at Augusta, winning 4 times with Tiger. So Adam Scott, basically it comes down to if he has that putter under control, then, he's very formidable. But, I don't like a long putter on Augusta greens because, they're so fast and you got such a big weapon in your hand. To me, it seems hard to control.
Put you on the spot here. Give me. I was going back and forth with my co-host the other day. 3 names outside of Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson that you think that can set up and win this tournament. I came up with Adam Scott, Matt Kuchar, and then of course Brandt Snedeker. You got 3 other guys sitting out there that you're kind of pulling for, other than sentimental reasons this weekend.
Well, I think Keegan Bradley has the type of game that's very well suited. He already has that one major under his belt, so he will not be feeling that kind of pressure. Lee Westwood has been close here before. I think he could get the job done, and I like the way Justin Rose has been playing. Mm-hmm. I was with Justin in 1998 when he was at Royal Birkdale in that Open Championship, and he holed out his shot on the 72nd hole. Decided to turn professional, played 23 events in a row without ever making a cut, was literally ridiculed by the British press, saying he had no business turning professional. He doesn't have the game to play at the professional level, and look where he's at now, number 3 player in the world with plenty of game to get a green jacket.
Hey, Bob, we can't thank you enough for your time. I know you're going to have an awful time this weekend. Try not to get too discouraged. We'll talk to you as the golf season progresses, and we'll see you at East Lake before you know it.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure. There
Thanks,
he is,
Bob.
Bob Upka, one of the best, one of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet in the business.
He's a lot of fun.
1221 Sports Radio 790 The Zone. Heiserer alongside Mike Morgan. And not only do I not like Kenny Loggins, but I think this might be one of the worst movies of all time.
Oh, shut your mouth.
I can't stand this movie.
Shut your mouth. Anything with Kevin Bacon in it is remarkably average. No,
yeah, Invisible Man was great.
No, this was, I think I saw this when I was like 9.
Just listen to this.
I'm not saying it's a great song, but if you saw this movie in the theater when you were a kid.
I did. I saw it at Phipps Plaza right here, and it was terrible then, and it's terrible now.
How could you underestimate the acting of John Lithgow as the...
John Lithgow's actually a hell of an actor. Big fan of his.
Overly protective father of the young... Oh, whatever happened to... Laurie Singer? Whatever happened to Laurie? Can we do a Google, an IMDb, something, an APB, anything on Laurie Singer? Laurie Singer in that movie, and what was she in? The Man with One Red Shoe, and I think she was in the Falcon and the Snowman.
Where are you coming up with this stuff? You're like an elephant.
I'm a movie guy. You're a music guy. I'm a movie guy.
Okay, that's fair. I can.
But she was gorgeous, and then she just fell off the planet. Somebody find out where Laura Singer is.
Yeah, this is a good text here. Guy says the 790 Zone. He says, I'm a driver at the Georgia Aquarium, and I just want to say, this is a public service announcement from a gentleman who worked there all weekend. He says, all the basketball fans that came in town were awesome. Some of the greatest patrons that we've had. Great crowds, polite crowds all weekend. Way to go, fans. Way to go, City of Atlanta.
Yeah, it was just, and again, being among the flock last night, both going to the Dome, being there for the game, going back out. There were no issues. You had a couple people that were a little too much. I don't want to sound like the old fogey, but if you're standing up majority of the game, you're going to bother a lot of people. So some guys still don't know how to dial that back. A little too much testosterone. But other than that, everybody was polite. I had Michigan fans to my left. I had Louisville fans to my right. They weren't, talking smack or getting at each other's faces or anything.
I will say this. If Florida was in it, it would have ruined the whole experience.
Oh, come on.
I'm serious. I was at both of them, the one in Indianapolis and the one here, and they pretty much ruined it for everybody.
What, they
can't help themselves.
Obnoxious fans?
Yes.
See, I don't like characterizing a whole fan base.
Oh, you can profile with
based
them.
on a couple of knuckleheads.
You can profile.
I could find a couple of knuckleheads from any school.
That's fair enough. But I think that the biggest story last night, other than Rick Pitino, and this is just amazing to me, I didn't realize he'd been in Louisville for 12 years now.
That snuck up on me, too. That snuck up on me, too. And he's at Kentucky, I believe, for 9. And when he took over Kentucky, remember, they were coming off probation. It's not the Kentucky we know now. Kentucky was a little bit of a graveyard at the time. He has to recruit a bunch of kids that were not exactly Kentucky caliber players, the Richie Farmers of the world. And then all of a sudden, he turns it into – if Rick Pitino stayed at Kentucky and didn't take the Celtics job, first of all, he gift-wrapped Tubby Smith the title. I love Tubby Smith, but honestly, Tubby took one team to a Final Four, and that was Rick's team, and never got back there in 10 years in Lexington. Mm-hmm. Rick Pitino would have won at least another 2 titles at Kentucky. I'm convinced of it. The way he was recruiting, they were so far ahead of the rest of the SEC. I mean, Florida wasn't Florida at that time, and other than Arkansas with Nolan Richardson, nobody was even in the class of what Rick Pitino was bringing into Kentucky.
But what's interesting is those were a lot of NBA guys.
Yeah, a ton of them.
But this Louisville recruit
is not.
They haven't really been.
Right. This is not a one and done. This is not like Calipari's Kentucky team a year ago. This is not a bunch of one and done guys.
But what I'm saying is back then you had to have those NBA guys. You know what I mean? And now you look at the models of Butler and Virginia Commonwealth, and even the year that Duke won it. I mean, that seems to be the new way about going to, and he's changed his philosophy, and he's adapted, and he's evolved with the game,
right?
And it's resulted in another national championship.
And I'll go over this when we get to Under the Radar, but they actually had, in terms of top 100 recruits, what you saw last night, that team that dominated the end of the regular season, and then, of course, went on to win the national championship, they had one of the lowest amounts of top 100 recruits as any of the teams in the Sweet 16. This was not a team chock full of McDonald's All-Americans and just unbelievable studs. It's an undersized team in some ways.
Except for Jang.
Yeah, well, Jang probably has the best NBA upside as any of the guys out there, yeah. But if you look at where the recruiting rankings were, again, this is not a Calipari assemble type team, or to your point, this is not what Pitino was bringing in Lexington, Kentucky toward the tail end when he starts getting guys like Mashburn and Ron Mercer, and it's just like one after the next. He just got a bunch of good guys that know how to play, and Hancock was a transfer from George Mason. If Larinaga doesn't take the Miami job, Hancock's still at George Mason.
And he doesn't have to sit out a year. He gets the hardship because Paul Hewitt takes the job.
Well, they felt sorry for him. It was like, we don't want to make him pay for Paul Hewitt, so we'll just let him transfer without a year.
That's shots fired. That was unnecessary.
I'm sorry.
It was totally unnecessary. Guys,
you bring it out of me.
I know. I know.
Such
Thank
a
you.
negative Nelly.
Guy says, I'm sorry, I'm a diver at the aquarium, not a driver. So he's a diver. He's like doing the triple Lindy, and he's saying, "Boy, what? Hey, he's a Michigan fan."
So as heartwarming a story as that was when you originally told it,
He's not a driver.
It's completely
he's
inaccurate.
a diver.
Okay,
not that it changes anything. Guy says, "I'm a teenager of the '80s. Was a huge Laurie Singer fan. Having said that, Footloose was god awful, even in an '80s teenage movie. Again, awful."
Oh, here we go. Marvin Bird, who's all over it, hands me a note. Laurie Singer most recently appeared in Law and Order SVU, not SUV. That'd be Law and Order SUV, a bunch of guys solving crimes in Forerunners. In 2011. It's Law and Order SUV.
That's it. If they haven't come up with an idea for a show, yeah, there it is.
Look at, this guy's in an Escalade. No, he's in a 4Runner. No, he's in a Highlander. Which SUV crime-solving team will strike
She's
first?
apparently doing television.
She's doing some TV. I don't know how she looks because I haven't seen her like in 20 years. I mean, I thought she fell off the face of the earth. But she's on Law and Order SVU, not to be confused with SUV.
So we'll have some more fun. 7753 on our text line. We'll go ITP as Justin Upton did it again last night. And my guy, Paul Mahalan.
Oh, he's your guy now?
Oh, he's been my guy.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted last year. Guy's unbelievable.
Didn't get the memo on that. I got Upton on my team this year. He is so locked in right now.
Unbelievable. He hits that opposite field double down the right field line early on, and then he hits one that hasn't landed yet.
You can't right now. I mean, he's in that zone that we hear so much about in sports. You can't pitch to him. If it's anywhere near the zone, he's driving everything to all fields.
He's like big game Glennie Warren behind the glass.
He is.
He's in the zone.
He is.
I mean, we're getting notes, we're getting emails, we're getting sound.
Oh, it's all over the place.
Hey, we'll step aside briefly. We'll come back. We'll talk more about last night's national championship game. Luke Hancock, the surprising hero. We got some more surprising heroes. We'd love to hear from you at 77530 as far as some guys who came up big that were basically no names prior to that moment. Coming up next on Sports Radio 790 The Zone. 1250 Sports Radio 790 The Zone. It is the Red Zone. Hans Heiser, Mike Morgan here in our studios. And then we got John Michaels, soon to be famous. Had a great time at the WrestleMania party yesterday, John. Thanks for the invite. You did
I appreciate it.
Oh, man, you did it up on the grill. Real fun hanging out with you and all your friends. It was good to see Squid Billy in the house. And I watched a couple of the wrestling matches, and I pretty much could tell who was going to win and went on my way.
Yeah, a couple of people tweeted me and said, "What'd you think?" I said, "Well, it's to the point now in my late 30s, I know who's going to win, so it kind of takes away the storyline behind it. It's fun. I'd still watch it. Great event though at MetLife Stadium. I was praying for like a snowstorm just to see a bunch of guys out there looking like idiots in the snow, but it didn't happen. Good for New York.
I appreciate the invite though. It was a really good time. I do want to mention
I needed some of the real deal barbecue sauce is what I needed.
Dude, Holyfield was pushing it on you, wasn't he?
He was.
He was pushing on you.
And then he punched me afterwards, so I bought a box.
Something tells me if he punched you, you wouldn't be on this segment.
No, you would not. Hey, going back to Saturday, you heard the play-by-play, courtesy Atlanta Braves right there. A game that appeared to be over very early. It wasn't looking good. Braves weren't making any contact. This has just been such a fascinating team to watch.
Yeah.
I think coming into it, we were kind of cautious about maybe what we were getting ourselves into. But for B.J. Upton, who hadn't had a hit except he got a first hit, he snapped an 0 for 16 that night on an infield hit. For him to come up and just crush that baseball, okay, to tie the game, and then his brother comes up and hits the game winner right after it, you can't make stuff like that up.
Check is in the mail, by the way, to Carlos Marmol. Here's what Justin Upton is doing right now. He pulled the home run to win it, but he's hitting bombs to straightaway center. He is so locked in that he's hitting balls that are tailing low and away, going with the pitch, and hitting them 420 feet. I mean, the start that he has had, by the way, 5 home runs in the first 5 games with a new team. Nobody's ever done that in the history of Major League Baseball.
Ooh, I like that.
There's your stat of the day, big guy.
It's brought to you by Stats, by the way.
Justin Upton, this is the Justin Upton that they were waiting on in Arizona.
It was Justin Upton 2 years ago.
Well, 2 years ago, but I mean, I think a lot of people believe, even the one that you saw 2 years ago, those numbers can be surpassed. He's got so much raw ability. I like B.J. Upton, but I don't think he's in the same category as Justin. I think Justin has a chance to be very special.
This is courtesy of Big Game Glennie Warren's iPod. I said, "Well, you play some." I said, "Can you come with some DMX, some Upton here, Upton here?" And he said, "DMX."
Yeah.
He thought it was a bicycle. I'm
surprised you didn't have the karaoke version.
That's right,
like you did with Funky Town.
This should be their anthem. Every time they do something special, you know what I mean? This is the new anthem for BJ and Justin.
Yeah. By the way, Freddie Freeman on the DL, kind of a weird situation there with the oblique. But, you know, I understand where Frank Wren and company are coming from. Bottom line is, if you tweak it, if you go ahead and make it worse, you could be out up to 2 months. By putting him on the 15-day DL, you play it safe. Freddie Freeman's too valuable to take a gamble here. I don't blame Freddie Freeman for not liking it. He's a competitor, complained a little bit, but life goes on. It's the right move.
No doubt about it. And he goes on the 15-day 15-day disabled list yesterday, proactive. And Chris Johnson showing a little versatility. He can play the other corner as well. He came over, played first base yesterday. How about Pena coming in and stepping in the lineup yesterday? Mike, you saw him at spring training. There's a reason why they kept this
Well,
kid.
they liked him. They liked him with the Yankees franchise and saw some good things. I thought what might hurt him is that he played in the World Baseball Classic, so he didn't get a full spring training. But they really like some things in him from day one, and he's proved to be a valuable member thus far.
Yeah, Andrelton Simmons yesterday out of the lineup, and Pena gets the start, gets a couple of hits. And real quick before we move on, I do want to mention the pitching for the Atlanta Braves. Nice to see Tim Hudson with a nice effort yesterday. Nice to see the bullpen so far has been pretty good. Tehran a little shaky the other day, but the bullpen held that, to a 5-run. You were able to come back and win. But Mike Minor the other day was outstanding. I mean, he really was outstanding, and I really do think we're looking at somebody here that could potentially. And I'm not jumping ahead. I'm not a jump to conclusions, Matt guy. I think this guy could be an all-star.
Hans, I mentioned this. We were talking before the show. I said with the way Medlin's pitching and the way Minor looks to have finally found control and confidence more than anything, a guy that's not afraid to throw any pitch. Could you be looking at a young? And I hate to throw Maddox and Glavine out there because those are both Hall of Famers and unbelievably special guys. But, boy, talk about Medlin and Minor, what you could have for the next 10 to 12 years in your rotation
and Beachy,
at the top.
I love Beachy. I mean,
if he comes back healthy, you're talking about at the top of that rotation being as good as anyone in baseball. And right now you're getting him at, low-wage contracts. I mean, think about what you're getting for not a lot of money between Minor and Medlin and when Beachy comes back.
And by the way, I'd like to thank Anaheim for Jordan Walden, by the way. Thank you very much.